Shakur Stevenson versus Shuichiro Yoshino. This one is happening back in Shakur's hometown of Newark, New Jersey, at the Prudential Center. I was at Shakur's last fight in person. The atmosphere was wicked, right? I'm not sure if it was sold out, but from where I was, it looked very sold out, right? The city really showed up for Shakur. They really showed out for him. And I'm sure this will be no different. Not to mention Jared Anderson's on the card. Keyshawn Davis is on the card. It's going to be a very good lineup of fights. So let's get into it. Let's start with Shakur Stevenson. 19 wins, no losses, 9 wins by way of knockout. Shakur is one of my favorite fighters in the sport today. I've seen a lot of people's pound for pound list, and most of them have Shakur at either 10 or just on the outside of their top 10. Yet most of them have Vasily Lomachenko at 6, 7, or 8, which I don't really get. And I'm a supporter of Lomachenko, but he's not beating Shakur right now, right? Maybe I'll do a pound for pound list myself on the channel and give my thoughts, and you can give your thoughts as well too. But I digress. Let's move forward. Man, I've watched a lot of Shakur's fights, right? We know about his amateur career and when he fought Robezi Ramirez, and we know about all that stuff and the outcome of that fight when they fought years ago. But since Shakur has turned pro, man, I've never seen Shakur in a close fight, right? It's been a one-sided fight. He hits and rarely gets hit. He draws a lot of comparison to Floyd Mayweather. And yes, you can see some of the similarities between the two, yes, but they're two different cats. Floyd is one of the greatest, no doubt about that. He's one of the few in the sport to retire with a perfect record, right? I'm not one to use the word great lightly, but if Shakur continues up this upward trajectory, he's going to be mentioned with one of the greats, and he will be one of the greats. Now, let's go back a bit, right? His first test was when he fought Joet Gonzalez back in 2019. Joet was undefeated coming into that fight, had a lot of momentum coming in, and Shakur, man, he just had his way, right? He was patient offensively, stuck behind his jab, used his footwork to get out of the way of danger. Every round looked similar to the first round and to how the round started. It was Shakur pushing the pace and him using his footwork to slip and step aside and return fire. He was not just one step ahead of Joet Gonzalez that fight. He was maybe 3 or 4 steps ahead, right? IQ-wise in the ring, man, the subtle adjustments that Shakur makes, it can be very frustrating to be in the ring with him because you might think you have him figured out, and then the next round he does something completely different, and now you have to readjust again. And as you're readjusting, he's doing another adjustment, man. It's tough to fight this guy of his high IQ and caliber inside of the ring. But after Joet Gonzalez, he goes to fight Jeremiah Nakatilli, who was supposed to give him another challenge, but he pitched a dang near shutout in that fight. It wasn't even close, right? Then he goes to fight the veteran Jamal Herring, who was coming off a big statement win against Carl Frampton to defend his title. And you would have thought Herring was going to go into that fight as the bigger puncher, the bigger guy, but man, you couldn't really tell. It looked like Shakur was coming in the bigger guy, but something was different about this Shakur, right? You could tell his focus was a little bit different. You could tell he wanted to make a statement against Jamal Herring. You could tell, man, he wanted to not just win the fight, but he wanted to dominate in convincing fashion, and he wanted to get a stoppage win. You could see it in his mannerisms. He was coming forward, letting his hands fly, big shots to the body, but at the same time, he was defensively responsible, right? He knew what he could get away with, and he knew when to pull back, when to push forward. And he got the big stoppage win and took Jamal Herring's belt from him. In that fight, he was on the inside quite a bit, and it showed me man, people are talking about what he can do from that range, from at a distance, but the man can bang on the inside. Matter of fact, I think he probably prefers that more than he does fighting on the outside, right? He's going to do what he needs to do to win the fight. Whatever game plan is needed to win, that's exactly what he is going to be, and he is going to stay true to himself, and that's what makes him so special, because he does not back down, but he doesn't go into a fight emotional. He is going to do what is required to win the fight, regardless of what anybody else thinks. I know a lot of people think that Shakur has, what's the word they use? Pillow fists, right? But I don't believe that. I never believed that. Shakur has pop in his shots. I mean, you don't stop a tough, wily veteran, an Army veteran like Jamel Herring if you do not have some type of power in your shots. So when people say that, I mean, regardless of the fact, it's your opinion, right? Everybody's entitled to that. But for me personally, I don't believe that to be true. So after he fights Jamel Herring, right, he goes to fight a big puncher in Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez was knocking cats out. They get into that fight, and Shakur controlled the middle of the ring, boxed Valdez, hit the body consistently, and just outclassed Valdez for 12 rounds. And you could see Valdez was frustrated, man, but there was nothing that he could really do. He couldn't get in close to let his shots off, right? He started panicking and was throwing shots without intent. It was wild. It was flustered. I was like, man, this guy, Shakur's got him so frustrated that Valdez looks like he's just guessing and just doing whatever he needs to do, right? To try and gain some of that momentum back. But momentum was all on Shakur's side in that fight. Now, I thought Valdez would have came in and be more of the physical guy and take more risks, but that wasn't the case, right? And even when he did land, Shakur would counter him and take away that momentum that Valdez thought he had with a shot, right? The guy who has pillow fists, right, got a knockdown in the 5th round, I believe it was. It was a big performance from Shakur Stevenson against Oscar Valdez. Now, in his last fight against Robson Conceição, who I thought got the short end of the stick when he fought Oscar Valdez, but Conceição has, his similarities to Shakur's fight, right? They're both smart inside the ring. They both make good adjustments, but Shakur just got back to his foundation and fought his fight. In his recent 3 fights, I mean, he's been more of a come forward type of guy, right? Pressing the pace a little bit more and imposing his size and his frame on him. I mean, Shakur looks bigger on fight night, right? Obviously, when they rehydrate and all that good stuff, right? But he's not a small cat, man. That's one thing that I noticed when I saw him at the fight, right? Because on TV, they don't look as big, but Shakur is like 5'9". I thought he was like 5'6", 5'7". Shakur is a bigger guy than what he looks on TV. And I think now he's starting to get that confidence where he is going to come forward, where he is going to press the pace a little bit more. In his fight against Conceição, I thought he could have got a stoppage win. I think it was either the 8th or the 9th round. I thought Shakur was going to stop him because he had him wobbly. But he didn't press forward in the next round. It looked like he kind of just played it safe and decided to just get the win. Nonetheless, it was another one-sided fight for Shakur Stevenson. He is starting to be more offensive-minded, but his foundation, he's a defensive fighter first and foremost, and he's so hard to hit, right? And when you are tough to hit, even if you don't have the best offense, you'll have a good chance at winning most of your fight. But when you are a complete fighter like a Shakur Stevenson, he is tough to beat, period. But let's talk about his opponent, Shuichiro Yoshino. 16 wins, 0 losses, 12 wins by way of knockout. Big up Yoshino first and foremost because he took the fight. A lot of people dodged Shakur and he stepped up to the plate. All his fights have been back in Japan, and this is the first fight in a different country. And it just so happens that his first fight out of his home country, he draws an opponent of this caliber. So credit to him, but that's a tough draw to be your first fight out of your home country. Now, if you have not seen too much of Yoshino and you're just looking off his resume, you see the 12 knockouts in 16 fights. So you know he's got pop in his shots. Now, to mention his last 3 fights, he's gotten the stoppage wins. So he's got momentum, he's got strength, and he's got some power on his side. I haven't been watching Yoshino for too long because not all of his fights are televised, right? And there isn't always fights on the internet, on YouTube, that we can see. The first fight that I saw of him was when he fought Masayuki Ito, right? Didn't know what to expect, but people were telling me, Akeem, you got to check out this guy, man. He's got some skills. He's got some talents, man. Let me know your thoughts about him. And I said, you know what? Let me try a little bit harder to catch one of his fights. And this fight is on YouTube as well, too. And I liked what I saw of him. Right, he likes to fight in the middle of the ring. Good, solid foundation, moves well in the ring, doesn't neglect the body, doesn't throw a whole lot of punches between the rounds, but he's calculated, right? Not a lot of wasted motion, not a lot of wasted shots. He has a nice right hand. He's an accurate puncher, good pop in both of his hands, likes to jab in before letting off the hooks, targets the body well, and likes to slip in that uppercut as well, too. It was a good back and forth between him and Ito. right? Some rounds went to Ito, some rounds went to Yoshino, but Yoshino did more damage throughout the fight. Yoshino did take some good, clean, flush shots to the chin, but he wasn't discouraged by them, right? Although he could have done a better job defensively and evading punches, and that could have been more of a priority, but he got the win, right? But he did take some punishment. But it also goes to show me that he is tough. And one shot, two shot, three shot is not going to discourage this guy because he's going to keep on coming. Now, in his most recent fight, when he fought Nakatani, who was coming off a win, but the year before fought Lomachenko in a one-sided fight that I'm sure dejected him a little, and it kind of showed in that fight because when he fought Lomachenko was just on a different level. That he was on a redemption type of fight, and he broke Nakatani's spirit, and that's tough moving forward when you get into a fight like that and you just get ripped apart. But against Yoshino got the stoppage win, but he really started to take over the fight when he started to use his jab, right? He didn't use it much early in the rounds. Looked like he was just trying to line up the hard shots and end the show in one punch. But once he found his groove and his form, he found his way in and he capitalized and he got the win. However, Nakatani put together some good combinations, landed some shots cleanly and pushed Yoshino back and had him in trouble in that third round. Nakatani's overhand right was a problem too. He was finding his openings and finding some shots in there as well too. Ultimately, Nakatani was too easy to get hit. Yoshino was landing too cleanly and consistently. And honestly, man, I don't think Nakatani has much more fights left in him. I thought he could have fought back that fight, but I didn't get the feeling or the sense in his mannerisms that he wanted more of Yoshino. But it was a good win on Yoshino's resume. But there were some things in that fight that I think Shakur is going to exploit. So who wins, man? I've got Shakur Stevenson winning this fight. I think Shakur can stop him if he decides to press the fight. And I hope he goes for it because Yoshino is a tough cat, man, who hasn't been stopped before. I don't think he's been dropped before either, but he might also just be cool with just getting the win without taking too much risk and just doing what he needs to do to get the job done. I mean, Yoshino has a good chin as well, too. So I'm taking Shakur Stevenson to win this fight by unanimous decision. Yoshino is a good fighter, but a good fighter is not going to beat the caliber of a guy like Shakur Stevenson. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning this one? Let me know in the comments section below. If you would like to support the channel, there's a couple ways you can do so. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support by way of donation, you can find options in the description below. Also, my handles will be on screen as well. We also just started a channel membership. And if you'd like to join the channel membership, that would be great and greatly appreciated. It gives you access to suggesting some fights that you would like me to break down. I don't always get to break down all of the fights with the timing, but if you're a channel member, you will get priority in suggesting a video, and I'll do my best to get those videos done for each of you. But again, I appreciate each of you for your support on the channel. So with all that being said, man, we'll see you next time.